class, this is Professor Williamson, and I wanted to give you a brief overview of this course, HIT 203. For this course, you do need two main text materials or hard copy materials. One of them is a textbook, which this is a cover of the particular textbook I'm referring to. This picture was also provided to you in the course materials document that was sent to you before the course began. If you are a student member of AHIMA, you may find it at a lower cost purchasing this textbook directly from AHIMA. The textbook has narrative information. It's divided into chapters. It also has exercises, but it does not have the actual ICD-10 PCS codes. In order for you to code and be able to answer the exercises at the end of the chapters in the textbook, you will need a coding manual. This is a cover of the AHIMA version of the ICD-10 PCS coding manual, and they call it a code book. There are many different vendors. AHIMA is only one vendor that provides a coding manual, but you can also purchase the channel publicized version that was noted for you, I believe, at the SBCC bookstore website. There's other vendors that publish coding manuals, such as Optum, Nginx, etc. The issue is that you want to make sure that you have a 2017 edition of an ICD-10 PCS coding manual, and I'm calling it coding manual. This is where the codes are found. There's two sections in the PCS coding manual. There's an alphabetic section, and then there's the table section. You can't code without this book. If you are in or have taken HIT 202 or HIT 210, you cannot use those materials from those classes in this class, HIT 203. This class is focused only on ICD-10 PCS. It's only focused on inpatient procedural coding. It's only focused on one coding classification system, and it has a separate textbook, which we will go through all of the chapters of the textbook. HIT 202, for example, is focused on ICD-10-CM. That's a totally different coding system, and there's a totally different textbook for that course. The textbook for HIT 202 has a few chapters, I think it's 3 or 4, that focus on ICD-10 PCS, but we are not using that textbook at all from HIT 202. You have to have a totally separate textbook and a totally separate coding manual. For HIT 210, that's also a separate classification system. So in the United States of America, there's 3 basic classification systems. There's ICD-10 PCS, which is what we're focused on in this class. There's ICD-10-CM, which is what is the focus of HIT 202. And then there's also HCPCS, and HCPCS includes CPT, and all of that is focused in HIT 210. So this is a separate class. I want to make sure that you understand that this class has a unique set of code book or coding manual and textbook, and that you cannot use any of the resources from other classes, specifically 202 and 210 in this class. Additionally, you also need access to an encoder as noted in the course material document and the syllabus. You may have access to an encoder through your employer if you work in health information management, or you may have already purchased access via the AHIMA lab last semester, for example. If you have done so, your access is good for 12 months. So if you purchase, for example, access in January of this year, you would have access through till January of 2018. So that would cover you through this semester. If not, if you need to purchase access, you can do so. It is a requirement for this class to use the encoder. This semester, the American Health Information Management Association has provided the ability for students to purchase just the encoder at a reduced cost. Previously, the cost was $110 or $130, $110 if you bought Your AHIMA VLab Access from AHIMA, if you bought it through the college bookstore, it was $130. This semester, if you buy your AHIMA Access to only the Encoder products, and there's 2 of them in the VLab, if you only get access to the Encoder product, the cost is $75. The time frame for your subscription would still be for a full year, and you would be using your Encoder Access if you are in the coding program. If you take HIT 205 and HIT 280, you also use the encoder in those particular classes. Additionally, for this semester, something new, as I noted in my email out to you, when you are taking your midterm and your final exam in this class, you will need to use the Proctoro online proctoring software. There is no cost for you to do that, but you do have to have a webcam on your computer, and you also have to download the Google Chrome extension to the Google Chrome internet browser. You have to download the Proctoro extension, which is free. All of that is explained to you later in the class, but you will need to make sure you have a webcam in order to complete the midterm and the final. We will not be using Proctoro for the quizzes in this class because I wanted to give a semester of transition to make sure everyone is very clear on the expectations and everyone's clear on the technology requirements. So I made the decision to only implement or require Proctoro for the midterm and the final exam in this class. And also for this class, you have assignments. Assignments, however, are not quizzes. They're not noted as that in the course. However, you will be using the quiz tool in Canvas, which you're going to be recording your answers, typing your answers, your codes, for example, in a text box. But they are not quizzes. Quizzes in this class are timed events. Assignments are not. That's the main difference. The assignments are given to you in a way that the idea is that you are reading the informational document. Your assignments will be basically the operative reports in your textbook, and you will be then asked to code them. Some of the early assignments in this class, you're going to be asked to provide the root operation, which is a word, and the ICD-10 PCS code that you would assign to that procedure. And when you are doing that, you're going to submit it by typing it into the quiz tool in Canvas. There's linked when you click on assignment submission for lesson 3, for example. However, once you click on that link, you are not timed. You could stay in there for 4 hours if you wanted to. But the idea is that you are printing out or looking at the assignment instructional document, which is provided to you in Canvas, and you are then taking your time, looking at your assignment, reading the tips that are given to you, looking at the lecture, looking at the narrative in the textbook for those particular chapters, and then you're deciding what your codes will be, recording that in some method, and then coming to the course, hitting the submission window, and going in and putting in your answers. You really shouldn't be in the assignment that long because it's just basically a place for you to record your answers and get your score on that particular assignment. Later in the semester, when we get into some more complicated assignments, after midterm, you will have 2 attempts on your assignments, but some of the earlier assignments in this class, for example, your first assignment, I believe, is in lesson 3, as I'm looking at your syllabus. You only have 1 attempt. So once you click on that submission window, you need to submit your answers. But you should be working your assignments offline or before you hit that submission window when you're doing an assignment. That's different than a quiz. When you're doing a quiz, you should be using your ICD-10 coding manual, ICD-10 PCS coding manual if you wish, but you shouldn't be using your textbook at all while you're taking a quiz or a midterm or a final. That's the difference between. But when you're doing an assignment, you're working offline or not when you're in the submission window, you can use any resources you would like. You can use your textbook, you can use a medical dictionary, you can use an anatomy reference, you can use anything you would like to use as you are working on your assignment. I wanted to also share with you some course tips. Please make sure that you have your textbook and coding manual before the end of the first week of the course. That happens to be an upcoming Saturday. Do all of the assigned non-graded textbook chapter exercises. Some of them will be graded because some of your textbook exercises will be part of your assignments and you will be given that information. But when you are told or asked to code non-graded events, that's very important because coding is about practice. You are not going to learn how to code just from reading textbook information, just from reading the chapters. Post any questions you have to the lesson forum if needed. All of the forums in this class are non-graded, so you don't have to post, but I encourage you to post if you have a question, and there will be some case study discussion forums, but they're still non-graded. But I encourage you to also post to those case study forums. Make sure you take the quizzes and the exams before the due date. Make sure that every time you click on Canvas, and again, I encourage you, which is another course tip, to be in the course often during the week. Make sure you access and read all course announcements. When you log into the Canvas system and you click on your course, HIT 203, at the top of the homepage, you will get the 3 most recent announcements. But you still have to click on them. You still have to click to open them to read them or listen to them. A lot of the announcements in this class most likely will be video presentations. Please make sure you pay attention to them. The announcements are there for a reason. They are not to be missed, but you do have to take that extra click in order to review and hear or read what is being provided. I encourage you to print out a copy of the course syllabus because, again, as I stated in my welcome video, I believe, that way you have a copy when you are not in the course. Use the calendar feature in Canvas to help you keep yourself on track in terms of due dates and times. Be focused when you're working in ICD-10 PCS. It's just like learning a new language. ICD-10 PCS is very different from ICD-10 CM, for example. It's very different from CPT. So you need to really be focused in on what you're doing when you're working in ICD-10 PCS. Just like you were focused in on CM, but don't assume it's similar. It's not. It's a totally different classification system. It was designed and created in a different way when you compare CM to PCS. I also encourage you to be proactive. Ask questions. If you are struggling with an assignment, if you really are getting confused, ask questions well before a due date of an event. Being proactive is much better than being reactive. I also encourage you to watch all the provided videos in the course lessons that are used and provided for you to supplement the lecture text document and what is in the textbook chapters. I encourage you to somehow decide what method you're going to do to plan your personal calendar for your work-life balance. We all have busy lives, myself included. I am currently a doctoral student. We all have families, responsibilities, jobs, etc., children, spouses, partners. We all have busy things to do. You need to figure out a way that works for you in terms of planning so that you are not missing grading opportunities. I encourage you to read the syllabus very carefully because this class is point-based. Everything is important. All your quizzes, all your assignments, everything is important. It is provided for a reason because you need to build your skill as you go through ICD-10 PCS. Each individual body system has different guidelines, different nuances. The musculoskeletal coding is different than integumentary coding. ICD-10 PCS, as you will find out very quickly, really requires a really good understanding of anatomy. And you have to give it practice, time, and diligence. Please remember that this course is asynchronous. There's no requirement that you must be in this course on Friday night at 6 o'clock because we're having some type of a session. So that means that you have the ability to tailor when you're in the class for 90% of the time. Because even when you have something that's due, for example, your assignment in your assignment in lesson 3, it's accessible for several days. You don't have to submit it at 10 o'clock on the day it's due. You can submit it the day before or 2 days before. You can tailor that to your particular lifestyle. If you know that you are going to be celebrating your child's birthday, for example, on an upcoming Sunday, and that happens to be a due date for an assignment or a quiz in this class or an exam, you certainly have the ability to submit your work the day before. Nothing has just 1 day submission, and you are not required to only submit work on a due date. I encourage you also to be active in the course. Check your email in Canvas, post or ask questions, check the announcements, as I stated before, check the discussion boards, see what your classmates are posting, see if you agree with their codes, see if you don't agree and why that is. And of course, you need to be active to submit the work. But you're not submitting work 3 times a week in this class, for example, but you should be in the course accessing the lectures, accessing the additional materials that are beyond the textbook. The textbook definitely is a main resource for you in this class, but it's not the only resource. And again, as I said earlier, you need the textbook and a coding manual, in addition to your encoder access and your Proctoro downloads when you need to use that to take the midterm and the final. So again, I hope these tips are helpful to you. I hope this overview was helpful. If you have any questions, please post in the discussion forum in lesson 2 or inbox me here in Canvas. Thanks.